I had hit the wrong button. That wasn't the stream. Okay, just sharing these links around. Okay. Let's just make sure that crop's looking the way it ought to. Looking pretty good. And we're going to just get started out with a little bit of the rapid. Turn this LED light off. It's beginning to annoy me. Okay. White pieces, mapache. ¿De dónde? I have a friend who works with a small film studio called Mapache Studios. Okay. We can get into our Botfinic English action here. Okay. See, that bishop e6 move, thing about it is you can't take. Because if you take, then I get a fork and you lose a piece. Yes, up a piece. This is why you just can't take when you play that bishop e6 move, or bishop e3 if you find this in the reverse position. There's just no way that you aren't losing a piece. Okay. Let's see, just fix that pawn on the H file. Okay, get that bishop nice and flanqueado. It's nice when things actually work. Incidentally, I don't need... No, resigned. Okay. That was kind of unsatisfyingly quick, so... Not sure... Get the white pieces again. Emmanuel FX. I actually decided to go through every single audio level on my audio output before I was starting the stream here. And just to figure out where the good mix is. Okay, just like to test out restream there. Ah, okay, did move. I didn't see that. Oh, this knight is pinned. That's kind of neat. Because if that knight moves, I got a free rook. Not anymore, but there was a time. Let's just deny this square to that knight. Open up the F file. And increase my control on D5. Oh, okay. And move right in on D5, that's neat. Okay. So basically, I've got pretty much everything I wanted out of this opening so far. And this is a pretty durable pawn structure to get to have in the middle of the board like that. As it stands, this knight hasn't got a whole lot of homes at the moment. I just make an advance on the queen side to kind of keep it up a little. Let's just sort of jam that. Let's make that king side a little bit more cramped. I mean, it does badify my bishop a little bit, but I think that is compensated reasonably well. I can find a slightly better home for that bishop, too. And... okay. See if I might open up a file for this A-file rook here. And that bishop doesn't have a whole lot of scope either at the moment, that dark squared bishop of black's. There. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that this bishop can actually do is move away. I mean, ideally, if you're going to move away, I mean, then it's a discovery and we just trade rooks, and I don't think that's actually all that great for white. I mean, for black, I think it isn't bad because it might remove some of the pressure, but other than that... Give my pawns a little bit more mobility. В чем же дело с русскими спам-ботами? Всегда русские имена. Артур Зотов. Кто ты по-настоящему, Артур? Okay, double up on the only open file available. I mean, that does hang my pawn, but I don't think that's actually too much of a worry. There, the pawn's guarded. You got these doubled pawns in the middle, but middle doubled pawns actually could be a good thing. Among other things, it makes it really, really hard for black to find any decent places for pieces in these files, because that's covered, that's covered, that's covered, that's covered. Now I can take that pawn. Creating some beautiful passed pawns. Durian defense. It's nice to see somebody defending the most aromatic of all fruits. Yeah, seagulls don't take shit. It's true. Seagulls... I mean, they'll comply with an instruction if it involves, like, taking your chips. They'll do that. Ah, shit. No, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, that's right. I'm trying to move my pieces on OBS. Nice to meet you, Durian Defense. And how'd you happen to find this most unexpected and obscure of streams? There, got both of those pawns nicely guarded. Oh, I am not looking great on time, admittedly. Okay, I think we're going to get into the land of perpetual checks at this point. Okay, we've got that knight nicely pinned. Can acquire that in just a second. 속에서 강소리 단련되듯이 시련 속에서 우린도 Okay, this is getting irritating. And I'm not looking great on time. But I've got these passed pawns. Okay. This is getting irritating. Where are you joining us from, Durian Defense? Okay, the next pawn move. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Now it's defended by my light squared bishop. Now you're gonna take my bishop. Okay. I think I may have fucked this up, but I've still got this one pawn, and if I can just pick off... There we go. Let's get in there with check. Shit, I've totally buggered this one up. Nah, I can't do that because then we're... Oh, well, I lost on time anyway. Well, definitely GG right there. And with that, I think we're going to move on to our second part of the day. Okay. Thought Slime starts beef with Vosh. Oh, how did that happen? And
do think that a lot of the hate that I get from the left has to do with like the performance masculinity.
See, I have to say, as a source of a lot of it, I wouldn't have actually come up with it. I'm not even sure what he means by the performative masculinity thing, to be completely honest. I thought it was mostly because he's sort of, well, proudly ignorant, blowhard who is entirely too comfortable in the presence of the far right. That's my problem with him. Okay. Let's just check that crop before we move on. Yeah, that's looking good.
Speaking of, Markinator for $5. Thought Slime just handed out his 2021 IBs awards, and you appear in it here. All right, let's go. Where are the memes at?
Oh yeah. See, what happened was that after Vosh had smeared Professor Flowers for explaining black nationalism, a position that she doesn't even hold, it's worth noting. She just happens to know about it, unlike fucking Vosh. He decided to claim that she was literally supporting genocide because she was in favor of decolonization, and he used a bunch of white nationalist talking points to do it. So, yeah. Yes, best takedown of a ding-dong.
Best takedown of a ding-dong. We like to do this. Plenty of ding-dongs in the world that need a good owning with facts and logic and reason, etc. It's a staple in the bread tube. It lets you siphon some asshole's popularity to show people who are interested in said asshole why they're a asshole. The nominees are Sean, Jimmy Dore's anti-vaccine lies, Professor Flowers, the master debater, Vosh on black nationalism.
I remember that critical takedown.
And We're in Hell, featuring Unlearning Economics, the cruel optimism of Steven Pinker.
I love to be put alongside Jimmy Dore and Steven Pinker. The
Well, that's where you belong.
Steven Pinker's a really good video, by the way.
And the IB goes to
Professor
Flowers. Fuck.
Yeah, I fucking thought so. There we go. Nice. Thought Slime has some weird obsession with me that I really don't get, but yeah.
A weird obsession. This is literally the first time I've even I've watched pretty much every video Thought Slime has made. This is like the first one where Vosh gets any real mention. He's done tons of reaction videos, never about Vosh.
Look, it's not that I think she doesn't deserve it. I think she does, obviously, or else I wouldn't,
honored.
have picked her.
Does that go to me? I guess it goes to her.
But
yeah.
Because none of this should have happened. It's deeply troubling that any of it happened. She didn't.
Yes, it really is. It was an extremely mask-off moment for Vosh.
Set out to take down a ding-dong, but rather to explain black nationalism, a position that she does not even hold, but does understand, in good faith, and was then harassed, bullied, and slandered for it.
I feel like
yes, that's exactly what happened.
My main issue here, after all of this, is that you guys didn't go far enough in harassing a queer woman of color. I feel like you guys could have gone way harder with that, you know?
See, the thing is, he says this sort of thing like it's a joke, but it's literally what his fucking suckhole fans did. And he's never shown any kind of objection to that. I mean, he fired it on. He claimed that she was supporting genocide, which was a complete lie.
That's my main issue. I feel like the logistics here just didn't pan out. Like, you could have gone way harder. That's the main issue, you know?
I mean, it's actually really kind of fucked up what he's doing here, because that is literally what his fan base did, and it is literally what he encouraged, but by saying it in this tone, he's acting as if this is somehow a bizarre take, when, in fact, I mean, just sent a huge amount of shit down on Professor Flowers for absolutely no good reason, just because she made him look like a dickhead.
Honest. Oh yeah, same shirt. What's up? That's consistency right there. Wait, she claims to be a black nationalist? Yeah, wait, doesn't she literally... Wait, hold on. Thought Slime is literally conflating this in the same way Professor Flowers accused me of conflating it.
Oh no! I gotta hear this. What's the conflation, Vosh? Because I remember there was some conflating on your end of things.
I'm pretty sure that Professor Flowers identifies as a black nationalist.
She doesn't.
It's a black separatist that she lied about and actually does believe but pretended not to believe.
No, also not true.
But right now, Thought Slime is saying, "Were you doing the same thing? You, no.
You still haven't explained what the conflating is, dude. Come on."
She does believe in. Well, actually, she believes in black separatism. Keep in mind, we're on like 3 layers here with like.
See, he's just skipped over the bit where supposedly something was being conflated, and now he's just kind of he's gonna just full on lie about this, apparently.
What, Whitey Thought Slime thinks, and then what is the actual thing that they believe, and then what the thing they lie about believing is. It's like dealing with Fuentes over here. Jesus.
They lie about believing. I'd really love to hear some actual evidence from you, Vosh, if they, about the whole lying about believing thing. You've had quite a long time to provide it. I mean, this was months ago.
People were calling her a Nazi
True.
for trying to explain a historical
Nazi.
liberatory struggle for marginalized people who she
Marginalized people. Ah, you mean the Aryan Volk?
No, you fucking dickhead. Obviously not. She was talking about colonized people and people of color. In fact, and you then decided to turn that into an opportunity for you to express your belief in white genocide conspiracy theories, which was very on brand for you, surprisingly.
From the Jewish scourge? That's what she believes, not me, by the way.
Yeah, except he said some much. I've never heard Professor Fowler say anything anti-Semitic. I've heard Vosh say some anti-Semitic shit. Not. And I remember watching a video with him with debating the JQ, that he seemed just very comfortable. He's much politer with the neo-Nazi who was explaining why all Jews need to be fucking exterminated than he was to Professor Flowers. He gave him a hell of a lot more room to express his beliefs. But no, God... He is just so impressively full of shit.
Not me.
didn't even agree with. Simply by trying to correct misinformation, she exposed an ugliness at the heart of the way that white leftists look down on and talk over people of color. The way that conflict can be cultivated and weaponized.
2022, baby. It's the ableism arc and the talking down to people of color arc.
See, I actually don't even think... I mean, talking down to? I don't even think that was talking down to. I mean, maybe there was an aspect to that, but it was just mostly lying about and talking over.
That's what we got.
To create bottom-tier personality-based content. To the loudest go the spoils. Fuck anyone who gets in their way. And right now you're probably all mad in the comments saying, why are you being so mean to Vosh? And
Wait, why? Wait.
Because he's an asshole, though.
Wait, why the fuck would your audience say that? What?
Because your audience has this way of spilling over and dogpiling anyone who criticizes you.
People vastly overstate the reach of my audience. Anywhere online, if you say fuck a Bosch, you're going to get applause, okay? The only place that's not the case is my goddamn audience, you know?
It is not my intent to be. I'm not trying to single out Vosh in particular. Obviously, he and I have a history of mutual animosity. And to be clear, I do think he behaved disgustingly. But I think the reason that these...
This is the thing, by the way. They never actually say for what. Like, what?
Well, yeah, he actually did say for what. Meanwhile, you had accused him of conflating something, and we're still waiting for that. I mean...
What, though? I talked with Professor Flowers. It was like... I was very calm with her. I treated her like...
That's bullshit. You screamed at her and accused her of supporting genocide and likened decolonization to the literal Nazi Holocaust.
The baby-brained moron that she is. You know, I had very gloves on. Many layers of gloves. Like mittens with how many layers I put on, you know?
God, I mean, he is just... Anyone who has seen this... I mean, and I would just go and watch... yeah, supposedly, comparing her to a Nazi is, for supporting decolonization is apparently his version of gloves on. Of course, when he talks to actual Nazis, who he regularly platforms, he has a whole different approach. I mean, that's when he takes the gloves off and he offers them the tea and cakes.
Yeah, I gave
kind.
her therapy, for fuck's sake. I gave her a free therapy session. I just...
God, I mean, this is like he's creating this parallel universe, and his viewers must. I mean, let me see what the comments are. Uh, yeah. No, I mean nobody's calling him out. Everybody in here, that's those chat in his chat there. Those people are more likely than most to have actually seen the content he's talking about, and they all know what he's saying is complete bullshit. Like PragerU grade bullshit. Complete misrepresent. Not even a misrepresentation. He's like creating parallel universe content. This is reality fanfic. Okay. Of what happened, where like in the mirror universe, Vosh, what he would have done when somebody explains black nationalism. Hello there. God, I mean, this is fucking deep. I wasn't sure what I was completely. Well, I kind of figured he would just go off on one, but instead he's just gone like he's just lying his ass off.
Like, what did I do?
Well, he already said what you did. You talked over her, you talked down to her, you sicked your fucking horrible fan base on her, and called her a Nazi and lied about her. I mean, yeah, we saw the video. Everyone who is watching this just saw it explained just like a minute ago what you did. So why are you acting like you don't know?
What position did I hold that they take umbrage with?
A white nationalist position, to be frank.
The only position that she and I couldn't come to terms on is she thought it was okay to kill or ethnically cleanse millions of white South Africans.
That's a lie. That's the position he kept on trying to put in her mouth. The literal white nationalist, white genocide conspiracy theory that he kept on talking about, instead of talking about like actual decolonization that's happened in, say, to some extent in South Africa, but also in Algeria and so many other places. He decides that what he's going to do, instead of just talking about the history, hello, Erica, and if I didn't already say it, he's going to come up with a hypothetical, and it just happens to be the hypothetical that, like, the Patriot Front would give, that, well, they claim it's actually happening.
Yeah, I thought that you shouldn't do that. That was the critical disagreement right there.
Yeah, God, this is just, holy shit, I can't even, this is incredible, the level of, he's just, like, how casually he's lying, too, just look at him, just laughing it off.
That was the big hit. Why is it so hard for people to say ethnic cleansing is bad? Well, the issue is that Thought Slime belongs to the group of white lefties who are obsessed with racial cuckoldry.
Wow, and then he just to kind of hammer the whole thing home, after reiterating the white nationalist talking points that he used to defend colonialism, he decides to start, just using straight up Nazi buzzwords.
Like, they are the biggest, when conservatives talk about white guilt, they're talking about an incredibly marginal fraction of people on the left, and it's entirely Thought Slime.
No, they're actually not. I mean, first of all, it's like he actually is much more conscious than I would have actually thought he was. That he is just validating right-wing talking points here, but no, they're not. They're talking about any awareness of the existence of fucking racism in the society.
There are people on the left who legitimately do not believe, if they're white, that they have a right to second guess non-white people. And there are people like there are men like this with women, and there are cis people like this with trans people.
Yes, and then there's Vosh, who feels that despite his proudly displayed ignorance, I mean, we just last night were watching him talk about Chile, a place that he bragged about not knowing anything about, which is just sad because there is important and actually kind of epic shit going on, and it's nothing to do with this bullshit election that about half the electorate boycotted. And he's just sitting here, yeah, I don't know about Chile, ha 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 ha, I'm an American. And it's like, fuck you. This is like... This is why people don't like Vosh.
And
This is why his fans suck, because they self-select for people who think that this is that this is good
they're
form.
basically just huge cucks. And they get walked all over by the minority groups with the worst opinions because that's where they
God, I mean, Jesus Christ, you could tell me, is there anything he's saying right now that would feel at all weird coming out of the mouth of Richard Spencer?
get away with it easiest, you know. That's because that's like people like Professor Flowers, right? Like if you're like racist against white people, or if you're like an honest to God anti-white racist, you know.
Which doesn't exist. I mean, Jesus, he's gone full on. He's really proven that he's gone full on white nationalist. I have to say, Thought Slime was really, really, really mild in the description, because he went totally mask off white nationalist in response to Professor Flowers. That was actually kind of. I mean, she did a public service there just by truly allowing him to expose himself.
The easiest crowd to like work with are the self-hating white people. You know, that's incredibly easy to work with them because like they'll just agree with whatever the fuck you say. They'll call anyone who disagrees that you're racist, and they're like your shield, right? They do the same thing for you.
And the thing is, you know, I mean, there's all this like fucking beef between him and Caleb Muppet. But the thing is that when Caleb Muppet talks about, talks about this particular issue, I mean, he's actually more mask on than Vosh, actually, I'll have to say, but they kind of say a lot of the same things. Although he comes at it from the angle of, well, if you talk about racism, you're going to alienate the working class, and that sort of thing.
That black conservatives do for like conservatism, you know? It's really easy stuff.
These videos are so important aren't because they expose Vosh, but because it could just as easily have been me doing that. Me being the one behaving this way.
See? No! Exactly!
No, he wouldn't, because he's not that kind of an asshole. Vosh is actually a really remarkable asshole, and I think it is appropriate to single him out. I mean, maybe I'm just kind of sheltered in what I watch on YouTube, that maybe there are like a whole lot of people like Vosh and Xander Hall, just these like white guys who somehow have like got wandered off from an American Legion meeting and ended up on the left and decided to just stay there and see how much bullshit leftists would put up with and just create this weird ass sort of querfront following. But no, I would not actually have seen. I seriously doubt that Thought Slime would have done the combination of just open racism and just proud ignorance that makes up the Vosh experience.
This is it! It's performative self-hatred. This is exactly what I mean. He can't even just condemn my behavior. It has to be a we the whites thing, you know?
Well, yeah, because it's called systemic racism, and the thing is, it isn't just an individual thing. Yes, you're a very special asshole, Vosh. You're right. He doesn't like the attention being taken away from him, even when it's negative attention. Here's Thought Slime saying, yeah, actually, you know, this is a broader problem because racism is endemic in the society. It's at the foundation of it. And Vosh says, no, talk about how I'm an asshole.
Well, the real reason that I think this is good is because, you know, as whites, we're all vulnerable to this. Like,
well, it's fucking true.
Like, no, this is what I mean. It can't just be a denunciation of political positions they don't like. This is an apology for being white right now, which is...
Yeah, well, I mean, he's actually, I have to say, when he gets on this jag, he's fascier than Caleb Muppet. Caleb Muppet's pretty fashy. He hangs out with way more Nazis. But, I mean, like, maybe we'll watch it. If you look at this, there's this Stop the Lies Against Caleb Muppet video that's out. And amongst the people who've come out to defend him against the lies are the Boogaloo Chud, the white nationalist who was platformed by Jimmy Dore, and a representative of the LaRouche movement, one of the longest running fascist movements internationally, that once actually tried to become, as an entire organization, a CIA asset, but the CIA said they were unreliable.
I can't imagine being like apologetic over this shit, man. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, I can tell that you can't imagine being apologetic over being a complete racist asshole. It's your brand.
No, man.
I like to think I wouldn't, but the fact that I could, the fact that my audience, who are also largely Vosh's audience, would let.
Is that true? Well, hold on. I feel like didn't Thought Slime recently tweet saying that there's a large audience overlap or something like that? I think I remember that. Yes, it's true. Oh, we got links and everything. Oh my god. YouTube analytics occasionally reminds me the channel I share the most audience with is his being Vosh. Oh yeah, they're complaining about me a while ago. That is kind of
Yeah, well, yeah, people complain about you because, again, asshole.
kind of wild. I'm everywhere.
This is
everywhere all the time,
wild.
you know? And by the way, they're Vosh viewers watching your content, Thought Slime, not Thought Slime viewers watching my content. Remember.
Let me get away with it. And that's a problem. This is.
Can you check in the YouTube stats? No, I can't because it's not true on my.
Well, see, he doesn't. Now that Thought Slime has moved on to the concept of just systemic racism and how it's an issue, Vosh has to make this about like his viewer stats. He has to make it about himself. Jesus Christ! Wow, what a.
This is what it means to have the GigaChad community that I'm a part of. Thought Slime doesn't even show up in my adjacent channels list, which means that this is based.
Oh well, that's a compliment. What is it with this link spam? It's always from Russian names. Kristina Yemelina. Yeah, he actually, they were on together. They did a joint thing where they flogged Muppet's book. And oh god, I covered it. I did a whole reaction to it. It was also quite wild. Peter Casket is really a disappointment because I remember there was a time when they seemed to be actually more or less on point, like a couple of years ago. I was actually following them for a while, and then I didn't really see much for a bit, and then suddenly it's all about how being non-binary gives you amazing social capital, and then a few months after that he had to be shamed out of sharing a platform with white nationalists.
Basically like virile Vosh channel seed, you know what I mean? Like all the channels adjacent to me have my dude showing up, but it's not the case the other way around. Most of my adjacent channels have to do with like other live streaming things. I think they're mostly like
Well, that kind of says something right there.
Hassan or Hasanabi clip channels or my own clip channels, I think. Where does it say analytics audience? Yeah, here's the order. It's my second channel, the Vosh Pit. You should all sub, by the way. Hassan, Sam Cedar, Destiny, Daily Dose of Hasanabi, Secular Talk, David Pacman, and the.
Again, he can't be like not talking about himself for more than 30 seconds without getting very uncomfortable.
Rest of it is channels adjacent either to myself or Hassan. Oh, and the Young Turks and some more news. But that's the top 15.
This is not a Vosh issue, at least not exclusively a Vosh issue. This is not me beefing with the man, because it's a white leftist issue.
Man.
See, at this point, I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, yeah, okay, not wrong there, but what's Vosh's claim to be on the left at this point? I mean, he has this fucking stream. Oh, God, yeah, he's an absolute, I mean, he's Vosh. I mean, he has this fucking stream. Like, has anyone ever seen him at a fucking protest? And if so, on what side? I mean, like, I haven't actually heard him espouse something that was recognizable as a leftist position. I mean, in here, he's sitting here talking about fucking reverse racism and white genocide and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if he's a leftist, he's really, really hiding it. He is, I mean, a true crypto leftist, if there's anything left in him. I mean, which is kind of a nice little pun because he also just seems very empty. Like, I suppose in the sense that he is somehow tolerated within left spaces, but I'd actually have to wonder about even whether how many people who actually are in his chat and following his stream who are doing it because of some interest in left politics rather than just watching him be racist.
I hope TS is doing okay, man. I can't imagine having takes this sort. Yeah, are you okay? Jesus fuck. I was at my lowest level as a left-leaning person when I felt like the issue with the world was the essential behavior of non-marginalized groups. You know what I mean? But some people...
which is not actually Thought Slime's position. That doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. Yeah, it is. It's about being famous, and he clearly is already sort of gesturing when he says shit like this. He's just so self-conscious about every single thing about his presentation here. That it's like he's making it clear that, that chud audiences would be totally welcome. I mean, I don't see... He hasn't said one thing in this that would make a chud feel uncomfortable. I mean, he could easily... share audience... I'm surprised that his adjacent channels don't include the fucking quartering, to be honest. Or, like, Steven Crutter.
People never grow out of that. In a way, it's like, it's almost psychotically egotistical. Because...
Oh god, we did a little bit of projection there. That's very nice, because you're the one who just a second ago completely changed the subject when the video that you're responding to stopped being about you and started being about a broader social issue.
Because what people like Thought Slime are really looking for is the affirmation of minorities. It's egotistical and I think rather patronizing. Like, the thing they want the most, the thing they crave the most, I think, is to be told, like, you know, you're the good white or whatever, as their head is, like, cradled, you know.
Jesus Christ, I mean, this is like the sort of thing that you would find in a book by Pat Buchanan.
By, I guess, not a white person, whatever. By, let's just say Terry Crews, because he's, like, a real big paternal guy, you know, like, he's, like, big, you know, he'd probably be comfy in his lap. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, okay, and he manages to make that, I mean, manages to kind of get some sort of vaguely homophobic shit in there, too.
Just pick me shit, yeah. It'd be awesome to talk with TS. We will literally never talk with TS. There's 0% chance of that ever happening. I'm like, in TS's mind, I'm like, I assassinated Archduke Ferdinand, you know. In TS...
Why? I've never actually seen any reason that Mildred would care if somebody was the assassin of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And, you know, I actually... That's such a weird... God, I cannot with Fosh.
I'm pretty sure, like, I single-handedly did 9/11 or something. Hitler too. I don't know.
This is so bizarre. I mean, this is like the first video on Thought Slime's channel in years that even mentions him and discusses him for more than 60 seconds. In fact, it might be the only one that mentions him at all. And he's going to talk about how Thought Slime has some sort of obsession with him.
Assassinated. That's when the Pingu does it, kills you.
I too am a white leftist. I think a lot of white people get a little too comfortable viewing the situation as simply Vosh bad. This is a systemic problem of what...
The main problem with this whole situation is too many people were blaming Vosh for Vosh's behavior.
And see, I mean, again, he doesn't want it to be about society. He doesn't want it to be about systemic racism. It has to be about him. He doesn't give a shit what kind of attention he gets.
Instead of blaming white people for... That's what they're saying, by the way, right? They're saying, like, well, I feel like a lot... My main problem with this is that they weren't essentializing this to the race of the guy I don't like, you know?
See, what's interesting there is that he accuses somebody of essentializing race when doing it at the same time.
Comfort being prioritized over BIPOC liberation and black...
I can't.
A lot of white people get a little too comfortable viewing the situation as simply Vosh bad. This is a systemic
Which, to be
problem of
clear,
white
he
comfort
is.
being prioritized over BIPOC liberation and black liberation specifically. A problem of white people having all of the power and authority, even within spaces supposedly dedicated to divesting them of that power and authority. Something that's easy to recognize when it comes from our ideology.
It's a really interesting way of putting it, that lefty spaces are about divesting white people of their power and authority.
No, that's... God. Can he actually... Can he explain a position that he doesn't hold without it being a fucking straw man?
That's a very interesting way. I would never think to describe a progressive space like that, you know. Oh, progressive spaces, that's where you have...
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing about progressive and left. They're not the same thing. Hillary Clinton calls herself a fucking progressive. The term is meaningless. The term is fucking meaningless. It was something for a while that liberals used to sound a little bit cooler than, you know, liberal. And then people like Hillary Clinton started throwing it around, and it just became another word for liberal. And yeah, those spaces certainly aren't dedicated to taking anyone down who has power. They certainly aren't about criticizing social structures or anything like that. They're about defending them, but in a backhanded sort of a way. We're not talking about progressive spaces.
Of white people and men and cis people have less power. Like, that's just... I mean, technically, like, relatively speaking, I guess that's true. That's not...
Yes, exactly. It's... I mean... I've heard versions of this, but I've never actually heard somebody who's supposedly a leftist get this mask off about that shit. Until after it turns out that actually they've been a Nazi the whole time and this is an assumed name or something. I mean, usually it's like there are a few layers of bullshit hiding that this is their actual position, and they'll make it about it, you know, identity politics. Oh, we need to stop talking like Caleb Muppet does. He'll make it about, oh, we can't be talking about this racism stuff. It's distracting us from the class struggle or something like that. And that's how they manage to dog whistle these positions in left spaces. I've, like, never heard anyone get this fucking mask off, though.
Not necessarily inaccurate. Equality would mean
Yeah.
equal proportional power for, you know, majority groups right now. But it is a very...
Wait a minute. Lower proportional power? Those groups... Yeah, see, that only makes sense if those groups actually had greater proportional power now. And they don't. Yeah. Wait, protege other than Xanderhole?
weird way.
And
of-
hello,
of
Phoenix
putting it
Rising, by the way.
forward,
Nice to
you know
see
what
you
I
again.
mean? Like, it would be like, you know, it's just a bit strange. It's more about a horizontal society, right? Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, and a horizontal society means we gotta break down all these bullshit hierarchies. And that includes racism, which you seem remarkably protective of, Vosh. Like, not even...
Think of how to put this. I don't know. It would be like, okay, we all agree that contraception should be free and accessible to everyone, right?
including Vosh's mother, but first delivered via a time machine.
Super obvious, right? Like super accessible, super like, so for good family planning. Okay, but it'd be like, imagine if somebody was like, you know, yeah,
What the fuck's
you
he
know,
doing here?
people should want this so that like fewer black babies are born, and it's like, well, that would be a consequence technically of having readily available free contraception, but
This is such an interesting direction he immediately takes this in.
it is weird that that's how you're putting the point forward. You know?
Except, that's how you're putting the point forward. Apropos of fucking nothing. We weren't talking about contraception. Nobody was talking about contraception. The only reason anyone's thinking of a condom right now before you brought up contraception is that there's anytime your stream's on, there's a dick on the screen.
You know that it is odd that you would deliver.
Xander Hole isn't even X.
We're belaboring the point here.
You didn't even make the point. It's a weird fucking point that you've brought up out of just nowhere, and I still don't understand it.
Biological enemies. but often overlooked, sometimes deliberately, when it comes from our side. So
See, and again, it's like he's giving. I is Vosh on our side? Is he in deep cover? Is that what this is? I don't understand it. I've never actually. I haven't watched a whole lot of Vosh, but there's been no moment in my watching of Vosh except for the fact that he doesn't like Caleb Muppet. But that's like liking pickles. Okay. That's just fucking normal not to like Caleb Muppet. Because he's a dick. Who claims that saying the Pledge of Allegiance is communist praxis. Seriously. I need to clip him saying the Pledge of Allegiance and just occasionally throw that into things apropos of nothing. This is the most ridiculous shit ever. But okay, fuck, I've completely lost the thread. What was he talking about?
but often overlooked, sometimes deliberately.
Yeah. I just don't get this. There's like never been a moment where I'm watching a Fosh video where I'm like, okay, this guy's on my side, even though I think he's an asshole. You know, I've never actually had the experience of hearing him express his political positions or critique somebody else's, which is another way of expressing one's own to a certain extent. And I say, okay, yeah, I guess we're both kind of on the same side, even though I think he's a dick. I've never had that experience. I've had that experience with other people, you know, other creators, other writers, you know, just random comrades and things like that, where, yeah, kind of a dick, but I guess we're kind of on the same side of things. But no, I've never had a moment where I'm like, where I can recognize his positions as being positions that I would even consider that I would actually be willing to share space with.
Deliberately, when it comes from our side. So, Lua gets this award. I wish she didn't. Or rather, I suppose, I wish that she got it for her video about Tom McDonald. That'd be nice. Wouldn't that have been more
That was good.
Does she agree with
Seriously,
Tom?
watch that if you haven't.
What's the conclusion to that one?
rap in that video? That's where we could be. We could be talking about that, but instead, we've got to talk about this. And side note,
Are we done? Are we good?
if you have a problem with any of what I've said here, take it up with me and not her. She's put up with a lot of bullshit about this already, and
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd totally be down. Yes, you could, if we can talk about it if you want. I'm already done with her, I guess. Yeah,
Oh, God.
it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Not in a million years. Don't they prefer that? Okay, wait, hold on. I thought Slime went by he, they, and it was
Thought Slime goes by all pronouns.
Peter.
But before going by all pronouns, it was, yeah, he said he. And then I kind of get the impression that he kind of likes he better, just in the sense that, hey, his explanation for why he decided to go with all pronouns is that he wanted to stop people fighting over his pronouns. But, I mean, currently he says all pronouns.
Coffin, who went by they, them. Thought Slime uses any, all? Any, all. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, even acknowledging Thought Slam's pronouns is honestly a higher standard that than I would have expected from Fosh.
Okay, yeah. All right. Are we good? I think we're good. Right? Oh, top response being FD signifier is not a good omen for whatever we're getting.
Well, yes, because of course
from that.
the only good omen is when the
Everyone
top
was
response
like,
is from
"Hey,
Fosh.
check out this video on Debate Bros from FD signifier, and I looked at 5 minutes of it, and I didn't like.
she
the
did
5
not
minutes.
ask to
Oh, see, I guess it wasn't enough about him.
have this can of worms reopened. So if you've got a problem, or if you think that I've been too uncharitable to Vosh, then bother me about it so I can ignore you instead of her. Best.
Because I don't think he's sincere about anything, to be honest. I mean, he's just such a... I mean, it has to be about him, and the only reason he wants to talk with anyone on the left is specifically so that he can edit them out of context and say some bullshit about them. And it's just, I find it fascinating how when he will have actual Nazis on, he does not treat them that badly. Like, he treats Nazis nicer than I treat him.
Video on a topic.
All right, feel like we're good. There we go. Nice.
Okay. So that's when we can check off the list. Remove from reaction fodder. We got through that whole thing, and because I actually managed to start on time, we've still got time. So I could play a little bit of Rapid. I could watch another one of these and then play a bit of Rapid. Xanderhole. I got cancelled by Twitter Wilkesgolds for a pimp joke. Oh, fucking hell. Okay. Or... there's also the Who Hates Christmas video that we started up on last week, I think it was. I'm anyone got any opinions, any preferences there? Since we've got 20 minutes left in this week's stream. Oh god. Fosh saying what the worst anti-racist strategy is. Oh, I Bombshell Project Veritas exposes critical race theory at Hasbro. I think we have a winner here. I think we're going to start a long one that we can come back to. And if it sucks, we won't. I mean, if it sucks in a way that we can't get amusing content out of it, won't. Instructive and amusing.
Welcome to Hasbro. We're selling brand new toys now, pushing for critical race theory.
Oh, this is one of their skits. We're supposed to laugh. They're very funny.
Toys. The first toy we have to unveil is a Nerf gun. But the Nerf gun, every time you shoot it, if you hit a white person, it hurts even more. Because white people deserve it.
Like, see, these are bits they wrote in advance. They had time to actually figure out how to do this in a way where it would mimic the structure of a joke despite being crap. And this is the best they came up with. This is...
Here at Hasbro, we'll also be releasing a new form of Monopoly, where all black people that play start off with $1 million of reparations, all white people start off in jail, and all Native Americans start off with 10 pieces of property for the stolen land that we took from them.
Okay. See, again, I mean, this reminds me of Thoughts Slime's video on Nicole Arbor. This isn't even a joke. There are no jokes. This is not structurally a joke. It's just them saying right-wing things. Things that right-wingers are mad about.
And to round out our board game offering, we've got Guess Who's Oppressed. And if you are a black person, then you are oppressed. And then you can also guess who's racist. And it's the white people, especially the white males.
See, they had time to prepare this. They explained this on another video of theirs that I subjected myself to. That they actually write these bits at the beginning. This is a bit they're doing. They scripted this. And this is the best they came up with. This is the best right-wing comedy oil money will buy.
If you're a black person playing the game, you automatically win. If you're white, you automatically lose.
In all cases.
Hasbro loves critical race theory.
Hasbro
That's not... okay.
does love critical race theory, as we've learned this morning through the vein of Project Veritas.
Oh, well, I mean, if Project Veritas, the people who are famous for faking videos in order to prove bullshit stories, say it, then it's gotta be true.
Who who, you know, James O'Keefe, the, I guess, founder of Project Veritas, what we'll call him, has released so many stories.
I mean, I guess that's one thing you could call him. That's a neutral thing to call him. I mean, he is that thing. Yeah, I mean, he's also just a fucking con artist.
Over the past years that he's been doing this, but this one's really important because it talks about critical race theory. You know, that theory that the left says is not infiltrating different facets of our society, is not being taught in schools, is not being pushed by corporations. Well, it turns out we're not conspiracy theorists after all. It is being taught by corporations.
Yeah, I'd love to see the evidence of this, because of course we always have to point out when these people are talking about critical race theory, it's nothing to do with the actual theory as it is taught, primarily in law schools, but in universities, other departments of universities certainly also teach it. What they mean is just kind of acknowledging facts. Like, I mean, if this were a German right-wing podcast, they would say that acknowledging the Holocaust is critical race theory.
One of which is Hasbro. And a man came out by the name of David Johnson, and he has exposed that he is actually an employee at Hasbro and that they are teaching CRT. I'm going to show you a clip here from an interview that he did with James O'Keefe. Here we go.
Okay, let's watch for the jump cut.
Name is David Johnson.
Oh, wait a second. There was one already.
Here from an interview that he did with James O'Keefe. Here we go.
My name is David Johnson. I'm
No,
a
it wasn't.
marketing engineer for Hasbro. They are attempting to...
Oh, look at that. Did you see that? There was 2 cuts in a row. They got the they are, and then a totally separate... I mean, even his inflection is different here. So there was a bunch of words between they are and attempting to, and we can't even say what order it's in.
push CRT, critical race theory, through branding and messaging through their products.
Explain what we're looking at here.
This is the program developed by the Conscious Kid, which is working with Hasbro to teach children about racial bias at an early age.
Okay, so still not seeing anything about critical race theory.
6 months, babies are beginning to notice and already express preference by race. By age 3, children are already starting to apply stereotypes. They also may use racist language intentionally at this age.
Okay, so where's the critical race theory?
Well,
I know that when I was 3 years old, all the other kids were calling me cracker, and that's,
See, in his case, I could totally believe it.
you know,
Yeah.
that's just what 3-year-olds do, right?
it's often, yeah, when I was 3 years old, a lot of white kids were walking up to me and saying, you know, we wish we were back in 1960.
This is MAGA country.
Yeah.
This is MAGA country.
Yeah, it was called a lot.
I remember fucking racial slurs being said in the preschool I went to. That's a thing I remember. Because people, I mean, kids were saying shit, and fortunately, you know, when I came home, I had at least one parent who didn't think that shit was okay and told me about that. But, I mean, they're laughing at this, but this certainly does happen. Because they're hearing, I mean, at that age, they're hearing all sorts of shit, and they've got absolutely no filter on what they say. So, if they hear people saying some racist shit, they will come out with that. They don't necessarily even quite know what it means. They might, they might know that it gets an effect, but they don't necessarily know what it means, but they're going to say it because they heard it someplace, and they're just trying shit out. That's what preschoolers are doing.
A lot of racial slurs when I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know about
See, I mean, she's...
you guys.
Uh-huh.
It's very common these days. But anyways, we got the amazing opportunity to...
See, she didn't sound like she was joking there, and she probably, I have a feeling she wasn't, unlike these other two, who think the whole thing is just a big joke. And this is like one of those various moments where you occasionally notice this disconnect between Amala and the true saltines she's over there with. Because, I mean, that is a thing that happens, and it isn't a new thing. I mean, the last time I was inside an actual preschool was 1983, part of 84, and that's where I heard the racial slurs the first time. I remember it. So, I mean, acting like this is just out of nowhere. And also, by the way, this isn't critical race theory. This is just observing stuff that happens. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get pissed off over people observing stuff that happens, why don't you just get pissed off at people observing stuff that happens? We'll call it OSH. And you can have videos. Oh shit, OSH is being introduced into the news. They're observing stuff that happens.
Interview both James O'Keefe and David Johnson, and we're going to show you that interview now. Talk a little bit more about Hasbro and CRT.
Okay, let's see how many more jump cuts we get. Because we had 2 in one sentence. I mean, I'd love to see the raw footage. Somebody needs to leak Project Veritas's raw footage.
What's up, guys? We got David Johnson here and James O'Keefe with Project Veritas, and I've just been alerted to some quite crazy information that you guys were telling me about, that David has now been suspended from his job at Hasbro.
For participating in a far-right racist hit job? Gee, I mean...
It's true. I tried to log into work this morning, and all my passwords were...
American muckraker. Oh, fucking hell. That's not what they mean when they're talking about the raking of the muck. They're not talking about, like, spreading bullshit.
Voided, couldn't access any folders or meeting information, suspended, yes.
And so why did they give you any sort of reason? Is it because you came out as a whistleblower or what?
Whistleblower. Like, he... Not only has he not shown anything that was done that could be possibly said was wrong, or that Hasbro... I doubt Hasbro would even make a point, feel any need to deny this, because it's just actually kind of best practice to acknowledge that you've got a fucking multiracial market. I mean, like, not just child development, but just fucking capitalist best practice. If you want to sell the stuff, you want to sell it to everybody who can pay for it. And so, you're going to have to kind of acknowledge that racism exists. And aside from that, a lot of your market is actually kind of cares about corporations at least pretending to care that there's racism. So I don't even see... They act like this is some sort of whistleblower shit. But I can't imagine that Hasbro even... let me see. Did Hasbro actually say anything? Did they issue a statement about this? Let's see, what have we got? Hasbro Insider. It's all far-right shit. Except for, okay, we got Newsweek here. And... okay. Packaging temporarily contracted to work with Hasbro for several weeks. Okay, that's interesting. So this isn't some like long time Hasbro. Okay. Yeah, long time Hasbro employee. This is somebody who just happened to be in there for several weeks, and within weeks of that, immediately starts showing shit to Project Veritas. That's interesting. It doesn't seem like... I mean, okay, this is like the only non-chud article that I've been able to find on this and in Newsweek, and there's nothing, actually. So, yeah.
No one said anything to me.
American muckraker, my ass.
People at Harvey Nash, the company I contract through, reach out to me and state that I was suspended pending investigation.
And so, what was the situation that made you say, okay, I see what is happening at Hasbro, and I need to get in touch with someone like James O'Keefe to actually come out and share the truth? Why did you do that?
I've seen CRT and things, however else it's called, wokeness, intersectionality. I've just
Those aren't the same thing. Those are not unrelated things, but they're not the same thing.
seen it spread so far throughout other places in our culture that just when I saw it at work, I'm just like, I had a chance to actually speak out and say, hey, this is not cool. This is not something we should be doing. And there's no people like Veritas who are going to just expose that and bring it to light.
Wait, okay, yes, because if you want to get the truth to get out, you go to the guy who's famous for just making ridiculous fake videos.
Now, in that training, and I watched your initial interview this morning, they were talking about children as young as 3 years old showing racist tendencies. Were you surprised at all to hear that in your training at Hasbro?
Yeah, my jaw was on the floor. It was just so mind-blowing to actually hear. And I'm not unfamiliar with their ideology, but just to hear people just wholeheartedly believe that you're gonna
Really? I mean, first of all, that's not just, that's just, again, that's not CRT, that's just OSH, that's observing things that happen.
have a bunch of 3-year-old racists running around is just ridiculous. Like,
I mean,
children aren't gonna be that way unless the adults around them are teaching them to be that way.
That's the point, that's the whole fucking point. Yes, and the reason you've got 3-year-olds running around saying racial slurs thoughtlessly, because they're 3-year-olds, and 3-year-olds tend to be fairly thoughtless about these things, I mean, is because they're surrounded by adults who are also saying that shit, or they've got at least one in their life who is exposing them to that shit, and then they go and they say it.
That's exactly right. I mean, racism is something that is taught, and what it seems like from the stuff you showed is that
That's the point, you dickhead. Okay, if racism is taught, let's try a thought experiment here. If racism is the thing that's taught, maybe the thing to do is to counteract that by teaching not that. But you get angry about that. You're paid to appear angry about that, though none of you actually seem terribly upset.
Hasbro wants to actively teach racism to the kids who it's marketing to and the parents that are buying the stuff for the kids. Were there any more specifics on how they were going to implement this CRT into, let's say, a toy brand or a certain product? Was there any more specifics on?
They haven't. Okay, let's remember that we're 5 minutes into this. There has been absolutely no example of critical race theory even mentioned. The only example of anything is that they pointed out studies that show something that is an observable reality, namely that you'll see little kids saying and doing racist stuff that they picked up from the grown people around them.
On something like that, so maybe parents who are watching this have something they can look out for.
Nothing too specific. It seems like at Hasbro it's kind of in its early stages. They do mention that they wanted to make sure that whether it's product design, packaging, marketing, that just the tenets of CRT are being considered at every level.
Oh, see, I think if that was literally, if they'd ever literally said that, that would have been the first thing they showed us. It wouldn't have been a slide from one of these training providers saying that kids as young as 3 will be saying racist shit. If they actually had things that we're going to implement CRT, whatever the hell that would even mean, these people don't even know. If they had something that said anything like that, they would be all over the place. They would just be splattering that all over the screen. Instead, it's just this guy saying that.
Now, James, I'm sure you weren't surprised by this at all. You've been doing work surrounding this issue for years. What do you think is the overall plan when it comes to CRT?
Well, I think...
How the hell would he know?
We just sort of been hearing about it, but I think it's important for people on the inside to blow the whistle. People inside education, people inside companies. I don't know what the plan is until we hear it from their own mouths, but
Well, I mean, the plan usually where you're concerned is that you shoot some footage, then you shoot some stage footage in very similar backgrounds, you combine them, and you claim that you exposed something. That's your usual plan.
certainly people don't mess around when it comes to their kids. So hearing a toy company talk about 6-month-old, 2-year-old kids viewing everything through the prism of race, and
Which is not what they said.
hearing my new whistleblower friend here, David, tell me that he was inspired by the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King is
Oh, yeah.
profound and moving.
Yeah, I'm sure you felt it was very profound, Thomas O'Keefe, the fucking James O'Keefe, the far-right fake video guy, that he's inspired by Martin. I mean, God.
To such a degree that it inspired other people to reach out to us in the last.
I notice, I mean, speaking of subtle racism, notice that they lit this in a way that even though both of them, okay, they're both lit from the side, the lighting's from off to the right, but the way that the lighting has been done, you can see all of James O'Keefe's face. You cannot see all of the so-called whistleblower's face. Most of his face is actually completely obliterated by their lighting choices.
Including another person from Hasbro.
Oh, wow.
So what you have is
And with that, we have now reached 1 a.m., so it is time to wrap this thing up. And thank you for joining me. Always nice to see all of you. Phoenix Rising, Erica, and all the rest. Have a good evening, and see you on